Hello and a very warm welcome to yet another scintillating edition of the program CAC Weekly, a weekly program that keeps you abreast on the activities and the achievements of the Corporate Affairs Commission. My name is Maria Adozakari. Coming up, CAC pledges continued collaboration with NUPRC. IGCAC joins staff to shower encomium on head procurement as he bows out. Plus, a searchlight on beneficial ownership transparency. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's begin with CAC's continued support to stakeholders. The Corporate Affairs Commission has pledged continued collaboration with the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission to ensure economic growth. The Registrar General and CEO of the Commission, Hussaini Ishaq Magaji-san, stated this while receiving a 6-person delegation from the NUPRC on a courtesy visit to his office. Ishaq Magaji stated the Commission's resolve to partner with and sustain all existing collaborations with various sister agencies and stakeholders. He therefore assured that the CAC will continue to be vigilant to ensure that applicants do not circumvent due process while processing their applications. Speaking earlier, the leader of the delegation, Director Host Communities Development, Ejiro Ufundu, said they were in the commission to apprise the Registrar General of their operations as well as cement the existing relationship between both agencies. Ejiro Ofundo further briefed the Registrar General of the requirements which applicants must fulfill before registration. CAC News reports that part of the collaboration with the NUPRC is for the Commission to ensure that all applications for the registration relating to the sector obtain the NUPRC's due approval before registration. The meeting was attended by 6-person delegation from the NUPRC as well as the CAC's Head of Public Affairs, Dominic Inyang, and Teve Ayua Jo, Special Assistant to the Registrar General. Moving on to giving honor to whom honor is due, Mahmoud Muhammad Gidadu, the outgoing Head of Procurement of the Corporate Affairs Commission, has been described as hardworking, humble, humane, and a perfect gentleman who worked tirelessly for the Commission's progress. The Registrar General and CEO of the Corporate Affairs Commission, Hussaini Ishaq Magaji-san, stated this during a befitting send-off organized for the retiring executive. Represented by Justin Media Doral, Director of Compliance, the CAC boss applauded the good services rendered by Mahmoud Gidadu and added that he will be dearly missed by his colleagues and the Commission in general. He therefore thanked him for the selfless service he rendered to the country and prayed to God Almighty to guide him in his future endeavors. In their separate remarks, the Director, Nodal and State Officers Unit, Ebe Ethel Uzochina, Head, Budget, Planning, Research and Statistics, Esian Glory, Olayemi Oleni, Director, Human Resources Department, Chume Terumbo Scholastica, Director, Business Links, Obeta Ambrose Chireke, Head, ICT, Umaru Isa, Head, Finance and Accounts Department, Head, Registry, Godwin Onunukwelo, Asuku Solomon Achibong, Head, Internal Audit, Head, Records Management Department, Mamman Bale Mamman, Ismail Nuruddin, Assistant Director Procurement, Head SPU Mary Tongo, and Hamman Yusuf A, Assistant Director Registry, were unanimous in describing the retiring executive as an amiable, jolly good fellow with whom they all enjoyed a long-lasting friendly working relationship. They all described the celebrant as an excellent, hard-working, honest, easygoing, and straightforward person who values friendship and therefore prayed to God Almighty to grant him success in his future endeavors. Other speakers, including staff of the procurement department, jointly described him as a mentor, father, and close friend who would be truly missed. Speaker after speaker, other staff members of the commission took turns to eulogize the celebrant and prayed to Almighty God to continue to grant him good health, guidance, and protection as he begins his retirement life. In his response, the visibly overwhelmed celebrant said he was highly honored and therefore immensely grateful for the reception, eulogies, and prayers offered for him. Mahmoud Muhammad Gidado stressed that during his service in various departments of the Commission, he enjoyed friendly working relationships with team and colleagues and added that the gesture will remain indelible in his mind. CAC News reports that the high points of the occasion included the presentation of gifts by the Procurement Department, performed by the representative of the Registrar General.
On behalf of the Procurement Department and by extension on behalf of the Commission, we wish you the best of the remaining part of your life.
Mahmoud Muhammad Gidado joined the services of the Commission on November 1st, 2006 and will finally exit on February 16, 2024 after attaining the mandatory retirement age of 60 years. We say congratulations and happy retirement to Mahmoud Gidado Muhammad. Moving on to Karma 2020, the Beneficial Ownership Register BOR deployed by the CAC has continued to gain global recognition. It's no doubt the first of its kind in Africa and amongst the best in the world. The BOR, amongst others, helps to check illicit activities such as money laundering, terrorism financing, fight corruption, as well as ensure transparency in business. The Karma 2020 provided a framework for the implementation of the BOR following Nigeria's commitment to the 2016 London Anti-Corruption Summit. For more insight on the concept of beneficial ownership transparency, let's join Tolulope Adiola Shonaike, Assistant Director, Registrar General's Office, in our interview segment.
Mr. Tolulope Adiola Shonaike, Assistant Director, Registrar General's Office. Many thanks for joining us after a very long time.
Yes, thank you very much, Medina.
Compliments of the season.
Same to you.
Okay. All right. Today we are discussing the BO transparency. That's the beneficial ownership transparency. I know a lot of people now know what the beneficial ownership register is about. So why the transparency? Because it's already a transparent register.
Yeah, but that goes to the origin. I mean, beneficial ownership information disclosure is not something that came out of the blues all of a sudden. You know, it's traceable to about 1,000 years back in the UK, the British society. At that time, men, soldiers and warriors would go to war, mostly religious wars. And for fear of what may happen, what they do is to constitute a trust. And their properties are settled in that trust. So you have the trustees as the legal owners of the paper. The properties are vested in them to control, right? And then you have the soldiers as the beneficial owners, and you now have the families in whose interest that trust was created as the beneficiaries. So it's a concept that has evolved over time and years, you know, and over systems. So that same concept is what is now introduced into the business legal space, you know. And so today you have across the globe, everywhere, beneficial ownership information disclosures, you know. And what does that do? Is to promote transparency around ownership of corporate vehicles, you know, companies, limited liability partnerships. So beneficial ownership transparency simply means transparency, openness around the natural persons, you know, who ultimately own or control corporate vehicles. So what it's seeking to do is to establish one, who is the natural person at the end of the chain of ownership. You know, because sometimes companies may employ very intricate, complex arrangements. So to determine who their owners are. I mean, what you see is you hear Tolulope Shonaike Limited. Right? And then you go to the register, you see another company.
With same name.
No, maybe different name. You may not have Medina Limited as a shareholder, and is holding about maybe 40-50% above the reportable threshold. And then you go to Medina again, try to see who are the people behind the Medina. You see another company. You see, and then it goes on and on and on.
Like that.
Layers like that. You know, so by the time you unpack, what the law is interested in is who is the natural person, not a legal person. Legal persons will mean things like companies, corporate bodies. But who that natural person, you and I, an individual, you know, with flesh and skin, that is behind all of these layers. So at the end of the day, at the end of the chain, who is that natural person? So it must be, beneficial ownership disclosures must be about a natural person.
Once it's not a natural person,
you must get to know who the natural person is. Because at the end of the day, it is somebody that started the company. The company did not start by itself. So who are the people that started it? Before you now see, a company can give birth to another company, but it takes a person to give birth to the first company. So it's that person that the old regime is interested in. So it's about control. It's about ownership. You know, so ownership will be that interest. The control will be that influence.
Okay, but that leads me to the next question. What is the thinking behind it?
Okay, the thinking behind beneficial ownership is, again, like I said, transparency. It's to promote transparency, right? Beneficial ownership arrangement in itself is not bad. You know, it's not like, for instance, you buy shares for your children, right? You may create some kind of foundation or trust for them, right? You may even be your name on it, and then you know it's for their own enjoyment. There's nothing wrong with that. But I, as a public servant, for instance, I cannot own a business while I'm still in public service, right? The public service rules forbid that, right? Because I cannot be getting salary from government and then still have paid employment somewhere, right? Private, fine. But I can say, okay, this is my money, invest on my behalf. That's fine. I mean, as long as the money is not a proceed of crime, or illicit funds, right? Anybody can do that. I may decide that I don't want to be on record. Represent me there. At the end of the day, when you are making your beneficial ownership disclosure, you are going to disclose me. And if I have nothing to hide, why should I worry about disclosure?
Yeah.
It's when I have things to hide.
That's where the worry comes.
Yeah, and that is what the whole concept tries to fight.
Okay. All right. So I'm looking at ownership types. Yeah. What is it all about? Ownership types.
In the
owner is owner.
Yes. Okay. But in the context of beneficial ownership, let me also say that beneficial ownership, right, is the language expression of the UK. Right? In Nigeria, what we use is person with significant control.
Yes.
So you find that in the primary legislation around this subject, which is the Companies and Allied Matters Act, you may not find beneficial owner or ownership as an expression. Okay. Right? But in principle, in intent, in objective essence, it is the same. And that is why the person with significant control regulations, which was released last year, came into effect last year, November 23rd to be precise, has defined the person with significant control to have the same meaning as beneficial owners. Okay. So in Nigeria, when you talk about persons with significant control or you talk about beneficial owners, you are talking about one and the same thing, which again is that ultimate natural person that owns or controls a corporate body, in Nigeria, a company or a limited liability partnerships, or that ultimate natural person, or whose behalf or at whose instance a transaction is concluded, and that will include the ultimate effective controller of a company or a limited liability partnership. It's about influence, right? So now, when you talk about ownership in companies, you have legal owner. Okay. And then you have the beneficial owner in this context, right? Now, the distinction between them is that legal owner is all about title.
Not a real person.
Yeah, it's all about title. By title, I mean this. When you come to register a company, you have shareholders. It is limited by shares. If it's limited by guarantee, you have members, because there are no shares in companies limited by guarantee. So let's take the company limited by shares, for example. So you have people that are listed as the shareholders. Medina is a shareholder. Everyone is a shareholder. Tolu is a shareholder. And in the amount subscribed to a part of our names. So you may have me holding, maybe in the company with 1 million shares, you are holding 300,000. I am holding 200,000. Everyone is holding 500,000. Right. Now, the reportable threshold in the Nigerian case is 5%.
Yes.
Once I have at least 5% of that 1 million, then I must report who my beneficial owner is. So 5 million of 5% of 1 million will probably be 50,000. Yes. So that means all three of us qualify to disclose who the ultimate beneficial owner of those shares are.
Yeah.
Now, that's we are the legal owners, because it's our names that are on the register, on the record, that we hold these shares. But we may be representing some other persons. I give you an instance where I say, I can avail my money for your business, but I say, don't disclose me. You stay there as my representative. Right? So you have what you call the legal owner. Those are the owners on paper. For them, it's about paper alone, title. Right? They are the shareholders. You see them, but they don't have any power. Right? They don't have any control. So you have come to the beneficial owner. These ones don't have the title shareholders. Right? But they exercise power. They exercise control. Right? They are the ones who determine whatever happens to the shares. They are the ones who enjoy the benefits deriving from those shares. They control the assets. So you can have a legal owner and then you can have a beneficial owner. Before Kama 2020, the law was only interested in this legal owner thing. Most jurisdictions, until recently, didn't bother about beneficial owners, because strictly in company law, jurisprudence, you don't, a company is different from its promoters. So if you don't have a reason, who are the people behind the company? For you to, it's called the corporate veil.
Okay, yes.
And you hardly lift it.
Why is it so impossible to lift it?
Well, it's not impossible, but there are circumstances where you may lift it. And that is simply because the company is different from the promoters. Anything that is done by the company is responsible
for it.
Yes. It is only where the promoters use the company as a vehicle to then commit some crime, or some misconduct, where the owners become culpable, so to say, where there is a case of criminality or fraud on the part of the owners using the cover of the company, then we can now say no. In this case, a crime has been committed, right? It is not the company. The company is not a person. It does not have a hand. It does not have eyes. It does not have mouth. It does not have legs. Right? It's a hand. It's
do you really understand the distinction between the promoters and the company?
Yes. Yes, because a lot of people too try to separate their property from that of the company. They tell you, no, I want a company that can do this business. I want to do this business using the company. Okay. But again, how much people understand these concepts, right, is another matter. That is why a company is required to have, before 1990, every company was required to have a company secretary. Before KAMA 2020, under the 1990 Act. But with the coming of KAMA 2020, right, small companies, because of the volume of their operations, are not required to have a company secretary, right? Anybody can, you don't have to have, because it's expected that, look, it adds to your governance cost. So it was an ease of doing business initiative, so that you should reduce costs for companies, and then entry requirements also, But again, the kind of business you do will determine whether you need the service of a professional or not to advise in these areas. So now, we're talking about the corporate veil.
Yes.
You don't go to lift it unless there are reasons to do that. But over time, right, and that was why under the laws then, all you needed to do was give us information about this company, who are the shareholders and all of that, right? It's when things happen that you now go to look behind this company, where really are the people doing it, right? But today, we can explain this to be one of the exceptions, statutory exceptions to the corporate veil, lifting the corporate veil, right? It's a matter of, it's a requirement, a standard requirement that you disclose. You don't wait until things happen. In some jurisdictions, the disclosure threshold is 25%, like in the UK. In some other jurisdictions, it's 10%. But in Nigeria, it is 5%. Right. So you have to disclose the 3 levels of disclosure. Where you are registering, whether it's a company or a limited liability partnership, because it is part of the information required for registration. When you are incorporating a company, if you don't submit that information, the application will also not submit. CAC cannot approve it. So you must necessarily provide that information. Then the second level, that is a one-off thing. At incorporation, you only register a company once. What can happen after that is to re-register, but the corporate, its personality still remains. Right now.
But let me clarify this issue where you say group of companies. How does that work?
Okay, now in the concept of group in company operations, right? It's what you can describe as trying to take the advantage of synergy. You want to optimize. You think that you can optimize your operations if you come together, right? You want to take the advantage that comes from working together, pulling resources, to drive maybe common projects and all of that. Now, for a group of companies, for every one that will be part of that group must first be a company. So
registered on its own.
On its own. So it has its own autonomy. It has its own independence. It has its own directors and shareholders, distinct from another one. So we can also, usually what will happen is that the ownership may be common. Okay? The ownership,
is it possible to have one person owning all of them?
In fact, it's a requirement that the ownership is common.
So I can have Medina Furniture, Medina,
and all of that,
yes. And then I put them under one umbrella. Okay, I know we can go on and on and on when this is concerned, but we have time,
right?
And we have to stick to it.
So thank you.
But I must thank you very much for finding time to discuss this. But I know in the future we'll still come back to it.
Thank you very
much, sir, for your time.
Thank you, Medina.
Great insight there. Do you know that by the provision of Section 421, subsection 1 of CAMA 2020, the annual return of a company, limited by shares or guarantee or unlimited, shall be completed, signed and delivered to the Corporate Affairs Commission not later than 42 days after the annual general meeting of the year? So, have you updated your records with the CAC? Well done if you have. And if you are yet to do that, please hurry now to www.cac.gov.ng to file your return to avoid being struck off. The CAC remains committed to working hard to provide prompt and efficient service to customers in line with global best practice. And that does it for this week's edition of the program, CAC Weekly. We hope you enjoyed watching. For comments and inquiries, please take advantage of our social media handles and helpline. On Instagram and Facebook, we're at Corporate Affairs Commission. On X, we're at CAC Nigeria 1. You can reach our email at cservice@cac.gov.ng. You can visit our website at www.cac.gov.ng. Our call center is 070-8062-9000. Do join us next week for another interesting edition of the program, same time, same station. From me, Maria Aduzakari, and it holds him here. It's bye for now.